And now we're going to talk about clause 9.3, which is the management review. The management review, without further ado, let's jump straight into the standard. And it is split into three main sections, okay? So 931, top management shall review the organization's information security management system at planned intervals to ensure its continuing suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness. What the standard is effectively saying over here is that at least every once a year, management has to go through all the elements of the management system to make sure that they are still relevant to the changing needs of the organization. As you can understand, we're living in a very fast-paced world that will keep on getting faster and faster through the advent of AI, and therefore we have to make sure that things within the organization are being updated accordingly and risks are being considered in a proactive way rather than when they become an information security incident. Now, management review inputs. The management review shall include consideration of the status of actions from previous management reviews, changes in internal and external issues, changes in needs and expectations of interested parties, feedback on information security performance, including trends in non-conformities and corrective actions, monitoring and measurement results, audit results, fulfillment of information security objectives, feedback from interested parties, results of risk assessment and risk treatments plan, opportunities for continual improvement. And there is no better way for me to show you this except by going through Miss Frog to explain how we're going to do this. So one by one, as you can see, so the status of actions from previous management reviews. The software will automatically give us what were the tasks that we agreed on in the previous management review. It will give us what the context analysis is. We'll have a place where to discuss these, and maybe if we want to add or remove any elements over here, we have the ability to do so. Then we have a place where we can discuss the performance of each individual information security objective. We can talk about any changes that there might have been in the normative references, in our legal obligations. Here we have the ability to talk about the findings that we've had in internal audits. Okay, as you understand, this was also a requirement in the internal audit section, where we have to ensure that the results of audits are reported to the relevant management. Okay, so like this, we are automatically doing it. Having said that, it's also a requirement of the management review to talk about audit results. So as you can see, there's another element of repetition within the standard over there. We're going to talk about the non-conformities or information security incidents. We're going to talk about any other monitoring results that are available, changes to expectations or updates to interested parties. We're going to talk about changes to suppliers, or maybe something that we've observed from their end, and we of course have the ability to update any details as necessary. We're going to talk about the adequacy of resources, okay? To make sure that we actually have enough resources to work on our management system. So we have people, we have equipment, we have IT systems, we have the risk management process, okay? So the risk treatment and the risk assessment and the risk treatment. And here, therefore, we have the ability to see what we had discussed, to input any observations, but also to update the risk management as needed. And like this, as you can see, everything is interlinked with one another. Same thing for the opportunities. And once you go through all of that task, so as you can see over here, we've assigned a task, for example, for Samuel Barrett to review this particular legal requirement, and we've seen this task being generated over here. Okay, so everything is linked with one another, and by going through this list, you would have effectively talked about all the topics that you have to discuss when it comes to the management review. Now, 933, the results of the management review shall include decisions related to continual improvement. each one of these tasks is a decision that we're effectively taking. Okay? Each one of those tasks. And each one of those observations or comments that we're adding in this section. Okay? And any needs for changes to the information security management system. Documented information shall be made available as evidence of the results of management reviews. Okay, so once you populate all of this information, you can just go here and once again download it as a Word document to have evidence that you've completed all this information. Having said that, once you publish the management review, it will go to the document control in its respective section. Okay, so as you can see, it's here. And this is how it would look. Okay, so the logo of your company, MRM closure, name of your company, the date, the exact date, and you'll have, in this case, there were no comments actually added. But in your case, you would see all comments that you would have included whilst you are working. Similarly, the internal audit report would be generated like such. Okay, so you can see that there is this section, there would be the question being asked and the evidence that would have been presented during the internal audit to make sure that the auditors would have all the information that they would actually need to evaluate your performance in terms of the internal audit and management review practices. So going back to this element, I think that the management review is one of the elements that shows commitment by the leadership to the information security management system. So if you recall, in clause 5.1, we have discussed about the idea that management has to show commitment to the information security management system. If they are present, they give their inputs, they take decisions, they allocate resources in the management review, that is really and truly more than enough for them to show that they are committed. But if the management review is something that is done, by other people, not by management because they are too busy to attend this meeting, then that is a clear indication that management maybe isn't that committed to the information security management system of the organization, because the management review is an opportunity for you to discuss elements that might impact the information security management system. And from my experience, I noticed that many people find it hard to just sit down every now and again and talk proactively about certain things. It's easier and more urgent to talk about firefighting issues rather than talk about preventive actions that will have an impact on the business. So the management review almost helps instilling that type of discipline within companies to make sure that they are having these proactive conversations. Okay? All the topics defined within clause 9.3.2 have to be discussed, let's say, periodically, but typically external auditors would want it to be yearly. Okay? And during the management review, various topics are discussed, and ideally with data to serve as the driving force behind decisions taken. So if, for example, we're talking about objectives, okay, we can say that yes, we're doing fine, whatever fine means, but if we have an objective saying that, for example, company-owned assigned to employees registered and running on an MDM should be 90%, if we have the data saying that we have whatever 62% or 95%, then we know what's going on, So how come did we manage to exceed, for example, in this case, the 95%? Are there more devices than our licenses paying? Maybe we exceeded the tier for the pricing that we are paying, or maybe we recruited more people, or maybe this goal should have been 100% in the first place. So by having these intelligent conversations, you're going to make sure that you're guiding your business in the right direction. And Yes, so here there are the topics that we already discussed that have to be discussed. So actions, changes, adequacy of resources, effectiveness of actions taken, opportunities for improvement, feedback from interested parties, objectives, performance monitoring, audit results, external providers, and we have to have evidence that these conversations were done. As a side note, I also wanted to mention that the management review doesn't have to be done in one sitting, so you don't need to sit down and go through all the items on the agenda in one meeting. It can be spread throughout the whole year, and it can be a mixture of emails, chats, and other types of mediums for communication. However, I think it's much more easy, both from an internal audit and external audit point of view, to prove compliance and to prove that the management review items were all discussed in their entirety, to have one conversation to summarize everything that would have been discussed throughout the year, neatly represented in one document, because even for your own sake, from one year to the next, you'd be able to see some type of repeatability, some type of trends that you can notice about certain issues remaining an issue year over year, but maybe certain issues being fixed after certain decisions being taken. Okay, so I think that this management review is a very important clause because it will help you to truly involve the management and to include all the information security management system team to work together towards the same direction and vision. So to meet this requirement, the management review must have a conversation about all of those topics that we have discussed at least once a year. Ideally, it would be done in one meeting, so there can be easy meeting minutes that are kept, but should you want to split it over multiple meetings, you can go ahead and do that. And therefore, we need to have some type of a management review meeting agenda, which is basically this, okay? Clause 9.3.2, which is also this, okay? The steps literally that you have to go through in Miss Frog to do the management review. And you have to have the meeting minutes. So what has been discussed on each of those topics, okay? From my side, what I wanted to add was that when implementing the management system and doing the first management review, some elements can be excluded, like the status of actions from previous management reviews and changes in internal and external issues, because of course there wouldn't have been any changes because you've just did the SWOT analysis possibly a few months or weeks earlier, and it is the first management review, so there wasn't a previous management review, so there cannot be status of actions from previous management reviews. My final recommendation is for you to not go overboard with the meeting minutes. As long as each topic has been discussed, you will be fine. Most importantly, have an action plan for improvement and don't do things for ISO certification, do things for the benefit of your own business. If you have a conversation following that agenda and you determine 5 things that have to be done, follow up on those 5 things until they are done, because if you had agreed that you wanted to do them, instill the discipline within your organization that if someone says that they're going to do something, they actually do it. That's all I had to say for this particular clause. I'm hoping that you found it to be helpful and useful, and if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. I would love to help you succeed. Thank you so much.